Mark Rogers TV taking you to South Bend, Indiana to get you set for Notre Dame football with spring practice starting in just a couple days. Of course, we bring in Kevin Sinclair from Slap the Sign. Please join him there. He's a wealth of knowledge on Notre Dame football, and we've knocked out some positional units as we get you set for the March sessions as we lead into the spring game in April. Kevin, we're going to talk some wide receivers, and it's got to all start with Equanimeous St. Brown, who caught 58 balls for 9 touchdowns last year, and despite some of the issues with the offense at times, almost 1,000 yards for him.
Equanimeous St. Brown will definitely be the #1 receiver for Notre Dame this year. Just shy of 1,000 yards last year, but he's about 6'4.5". He weighs probably right around 200 pounds, and he really stretches the field. He runs the intermediate routes really well, and he has the speed and length to really beat people. Man coverage, zone coverage, deep, all kinds of patterns that they like to run at Notre Dame. They've lost Torrey Hunter over at X wide receiver this year. I think it's going to be a pretty big battle at that position. They have Kevin Stefferson took over when Torrey Hunter had some injury issues last year, and he played really well. I also think that Chase Claypool, who's about 6'4.5", 220, 225. I think he's going to be a dynamic player and go down as a really good receiver by the time he's done his career at Notre Dame. And I think he's a little bit too good to sit behind Equanimeous St. Brown at the W position. They also have Miles Boykin there. I think that they may give him a good, strong look at the X wide receiver position this year and possibly start him there. They've also got Javon McKinley that not a lot of people are talking about. He's 3rd in CIF Southern California history in receiving yards. Last year he came in. Apparently he had really good separation in the spring camp. Got open, ran good routes, but he had a few drops, and I think they had some worries about him there. And then in October, he broke his tibia. So this year, he's going to be healthy in April, apparently. We'll see what happens there. And I think that there's going to be a real strong battle between Stefferson, Claypool, and McKinley at X receiver.
Then you've got a couple guys coming in, Kevin, not necessarily extremely high top-end wide receivers coming out of high school, but you break down the film. So a lot of guys will definitely look at the stars and look at the ratings, and then if somebody's a little bit lower on the list, depending on that status of school, they'll be a little bit disregarded coming into camp. But you've looked at the tape on just about all these guys, and we got Jafar Armstrong out of Kansas, a top 70 wide receiver, and also Michael Young coming out of this rich state of Louisiana. Any thoughts on those two guys and whether they could push into some playing time?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly think both of them are good enough to see the field as freshmen. I think that Michael Young, he's a smaller, compact player, but if you watch his highlight film, and he is a tough, gritty, polished receiver. And I think that he might have a shot at slot because right now all they have is C.J. Sanders there, who's also involved in the return game. So there's always issues where they, about how much they really want to grind him in a game. And then the only other player they have behind him is Chris Finke, who's a former walk-on. So I think Michael Young might actually have a chance to get out there this year. We'll see how that works out, though. He needs some physical development, being his size is probably only around 175 pounds. And then also Jafar Armstrong. I mean, he just won 3 straight state championships. He holds the all-time Kansas State record for receiving touchdowns and holds the record at his high school for receiving yards, which is one of the better high schools in Kansas. He's also a big-time track guy. He's also really physically developed. He's over 200 pounds, 6'2", and he's extremely strong. He plows through defensive backs. I think if you get him in man coverage, he can beat probably most defensive backs with his speed deep. But he's also strong enough to win those tight battles, maybe jump balls, any balls thrown in tight coverage. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised at all to see either of them on the field. Michael Young more so than Armstrong.
Okay, Michael Young, a top 20 player in Louisiana. Armstrong, a top 3 player in Kansas. And according to 247 Sports, at least, they are neck and neck in regards to their status coming into college football as the 68th and 69th rated wide receivers. Chris Finke, you mentioned him getting into the mix and getting some playing time, 10 catches for $122 in 2016. We talked about this off air, and you were talking about the Notre Dame offense last season, not necessarily in recent years being the tight end you that we've grown accustomed to, but that could quickly change, and there could be that type of production again heading up this fall.
It's been really disappointing, I guess, for a lot of fans the last few years, how things have gone with the tight ends. I believe they threw for less than 200 yards to the tight end last year, which is, really unlike Notre Dame. Anyhow, if you have a look at things as a whole with Notre Dame at tight end this year, they have 6 tight ends. 5 of them are former high school All-Americans. Got Alize Jones, who's now Alize Mack, coming back. He was the #1 tight end in the country, 6'4.5", 245. He wasn't able to play last year. He's coming back. He was in scout all year last year. Brian Kelly said that they really didn't have anyone who could cover him. He's an excellent flex tight end. They also have Brock Wright and Cole Kmet, 2 of the top 3 tight ends, true freshmen coming in this year. Brock Wright being an early enrollee, he's already on campus. Durham Smythe, their starter from last year, back. We can go on and on. Nick Wisher is also a great tight end with catching the football. Tyler Lewitt is a great blocking tight end. You put all that together with Chip Long being the offensive coordinator, also a former high school college All-American tight end himself. Loves to run a lot of 2, even 3 tight end sets. Run a lot of play action, which always revolves around the tight end. I think they got a recipe for real success at tight end this year and going forward.
All right, Notre Dame going to spring practice later this week. When we talk Notre Dame football, it's always with Kevin Sinclair from Slap the Sign, doing some tremendous work right there as we've run through the positional units, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and we will continue on as we work through the spring and into 2017. Kevin, we always appreciate the time.
Yeah, you bet. Go Irish.